What up, what up, what up, what up, YouTube? What up, Facebook? This is your boy Robert Bob TV Brown. How you doing today? And Han, I want you to take a look at something. Look at this. Han, I don't know what's going on with Bill Gates, man. This drive, this passionate drive for a freaking vaccine. This passionate determination to get recognition. What you need to do is go and play Fortnite. Play something on your Xbox. Look at that look, man. That's a sinister. I mean, don't get me wrong. Jeff Bezos is Dr. Evil, rich, spoiled, nerd. When they said revenge of the nerds, man, they really mean it, man. Cause you look at Jeff Bezos. Then you look at Bill Gates. Smile nerds, but behind all that, I believe is some cynical, psychological, unstable, evil geniuses behind them. And the wife just goes along because she ain't going to do nothing. She ain't going nowhere. Too much money. Too much money. Even if she got half, man, it still ain't the money they got together. And a lot of these women know it's cheaper to keep her. Except for Jeff Bezos' wife. What is with this guy? And how did he become the expert on vaccines? But you got a doctor like Dr. Zelenko who found a protocol that helped about, so far, at least 1,000 people here in New York stay out of the hospital, driving the virus out of them. And they want to dump on him. But Bill Gates, who have no medical experience at all whatsoever, he probably never even put a depository up his child's butt or up his butt. He's now the former expert on vaccine, and he's pushing hard for a particular vaccine. We're going to do a little journey into this real quick, then I got to get out of here. But this guy look creepy, man. This guy's on some old evil genius, Pinky in the Brain level. Because this is Pinky. I guess is why. She's Pinky, and I guess he's the brain. Or maybe it's her, and he just getting along because, hey, we're going to look into this a little bit. That's a diabolical evil. I don't know what happened to Bill Gates, man. That was my boy at one time. Microsoft, Xbox One, 2, Halo, John Madden, you name it, man. I loved that guy one time, but this guy right here, this guy wants to do everything he can to put a virus in your blood system. And I recently came across a couple of things that you can call it conspiracy theory or whatever, but it is very disturbing. Let me show you what I mean. This is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. All lives have equal value. All lives have equal value. We are impatient optimists working to reduce inequity. So maybe it's his agenda to make sure everybody is equal, even in some sadistic, psychotic way. COVID-19 on the global response. Let's read this for a second. We're just exploring. Just doing a little exploring on Bill Gates. The Optimist, Perspectives on the Global Response to the 2019 Novel Coronavirus. Vaccines are a revolutionary technology. Vaccines are a revolutionary technology. I'm going to let you listen to this. I wonder how long this is. Give me a moment. Let you listen to this. I'll be right back.
COVID-19 is making us all learn a lot of things we didn't know before. We're learning about epidemiology. We're learning about diagnostics. We're learning about drug treatments. And we're really anxious to see progress on these things. And perhaps most important of all is getting a vaccine, because it's the vaccine that will allow us all to go back to normal. Vaccines are a revolutionary technology. While we're rightly focused these days on the vaccines we don't have, we're also being reminded how the vaccines we do have made such a big difference, saving hundreds of millions of lives. Of course, vaccines go back a long time. In 18th century England, people knew that milkmaids didn't get smallpox. Dr. Edward Jenner realized that there must be something that the milkmaids were exposed to. And in fact, he saw there was a very mild disease called cowpox. And cowpox was so similar to smallpox that he wondered if when the body was exposed to cowpox, that somehow there was protection against getting smallpox, which had a huge risk of killing you. And so to test this idea of cowpox protection, he used the pus from cowpox blisters to actually give that to a young boy, and then later intentionally exposed him to smallpox to see if he would get sick. That was successful, and that became the first vaccination to immunize people to avoid death from smallpox. Now, we've come a long ways since then. We know a lot more about the immune system and biology based on two key factors. We know about different diseases. The first one is about how infectious it is. And one way to measure that is to say if somebody has this disease, on average, how many other people do they infect? That's called R-naught. The higher the R-naught, the more contagious the disease is, the quicker it spreads. COVID's R-naught is about 2.5. So each person who gets sick then passes it along to 2.5 more people. And so that makes it about twice as contagious as the typical seasonal flu. But look at this. The R-naught for smallpox was between 3.5 and 6, at least twice as contagious as COVID, and 4 times more contagious than the regular seasonal flu. The second factor is of the people who get sick, how many of them will actually die. With COVID, it's at least 1%, much higher than flu, about 10 times higher, but dramatically lower than the 30% for smallpox. In the early 20th century, smallpox killed an average of 4 million people every year. Eventually, we got a great vaccine for smallpox, and so in 1979, that became the first and so far the only disease that we've ever eradicated. Now, the smallpox vaccine is not the only one where we've had a dramatic effect. Let's look at measles. 60 years ago, it was killing between 2 and 6 million every year. We don't have detailed data for the whole world back then, but in the United States, the infection rate was around 300 Americans per 100,000. It was in 1963 that John Enders created this measles vaccine. And we can see that the infections and deaths plummeted very quickly. And since the introduction of that vaccine, we've reduced measles infection by more than 99% in the US. Now, just having a vaccine is one thing, but getting it out to everyone who needs it requires additional effort. Let's look at smallpox. What we've seen historically is that in rich countries, we get vaccines out very quickly. Now, that's a little bit paradoxical because the actual risk of disease and death is actually the lowest in those rich countries, and it's much higher in the poor countries. So let's look at measles here. The vaccine was invented in 1963. 10 years later, UNICEF and the World Health Organization decided they wanted to get that measles vaccine out, and they gave themselves a deadline of 1990. So there was 27 years between that invention and before we got substantial coverage in all the countries, protecting even the children in poor countries. In 2000, even though the vaccine was almost 40 years old, we still had over 500,000 deaths from measles, essentially all of them in poor countries. But 2000 was an important year. That was the creation of Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. Gavi's purpose was pretty simple: help countries in the world, particularly the poorest, buy these vaccines and create the system to get them out to almost every child. And so far, Gavi has helped vaccinate 750 million children. That's quite amazing. This was the dream we had for Gavi, and it's been achieved. It's changed the norm that only kids in rich countries get these new vaccines. Let me give you another great example of this. It was also in 2000 when a new vaccine for pneumonia was licensed in the United States and started moving to other countries. Here's a chart showing the vaccination rates by country. The wealthy countries are shown on the right, and the poor ones are shown on the left. We're going to see how this changes over time. You can see that fairly quickly, low-income countries are getting access. It wasn't like measles, where you had almost 20 years that they had no access at all. As you see, that's not what happened. Simply because Gavi existed, virtually every country in the world offers this to the kids who need the most as fast as we can. The next disease Gavi will help us with is COVID-19. First, of course, the research community needs to develop a safe and effective vaccine. I'm confident that will happen because we have a lot of different groups taking different approaches. But once we get it, we can't let it be like measles or smallpox. We cannot leave billions unprotected, even for years. And that's where Gavi's incredible skills come in. It can make sure to procure the COVID vaccine, getting a very, very low price, and figure out the logistics of getting billions of doses out very quickly. When this pandemic is over, we will have learned a lot of lessons, and we will have gained an appreciation for how we need to invest to stop these infectious diseases.
So, all that being said, Bill Gates is working with Gavi to produce a vaccine. He wants to make sure vaccines get to billions, but there is a cost. Low cost, but there's a cost. Here it is again, a money-making scheme off the lives of people. Shouldn't be that way. Vaccines shouldn't cost money. It shouldn't come out of nobody's pocket. The federal government shouldn't be using our tax dollars. The key word I want you to get from Bill Gates is Gavi, a billion people, low cost. If you got just $5 off a billion, it's $5 billion. But what medicine you know, other than Tylenol or something like that off the streets, costs $5? No, this medicine, low cost to them could mean $1,000. So imagine 1,000 a billion. See, right now, Bill Gates is playing catch up to your boy from Amazon, because he done smoked Bill Gates. He's the richest man in the world. I don't trust Bill Gates. Dude has come from Xbox creation, one of the greatest creations of all time, to getting involved with life and death issues. Man, go back to just giving your money away. Stay out of this, man. Obviously, you're in this for something. Gavi, vaccine, Billions, low cost. That is a recipe for shame, number one. That is a recipe for shame because you're trying to make money off the lives and deaths of people. Now, we're going to keep going with this. I don't know where I'm going with this. I guess this is a Bob TV special. I don't know why I got to looking at Bill Gates, but something just don't set me right with Bill Gates. This Bill Gates right now is not the Bill Gates 20 years ago. And like I said, you you thought Jeff Bezos was the next Hitler. And people talking about Trump, Hitler. Man, Trump ain't smart enough to be Hitler, bruh. Trump will never be a Hitler. He ain't that smart. He appeared to be smart, but he ain't that smart to be a Hitler. Jeff Bezos, smart enough to be a Hitler. Bill Gates, smart enough to be a Hitler. We're going to go into another video. Now, they're going to tear this video down. All right, so I'm going to put it on my Patreon page if they do. So you can go to the Patreon page or you can go to bobtvnyc.com. Anything you see pull off of Facebook, pull off YouTube, whatever, you'll find the video there. I am working on a BitChute count. You'll be able to find them there also. Because I'm not monkeying around with this stuff. You know. Once you see something else.
Vaccines are now getting out to children far, far better than ever before because a group called the Global Alliance for Vaccines, Gavi, has raised money to buy these vaccines on behalf of the poor kids. But to get a very state-of-the-art vaccine like this pneumonia vaccine out to the...
Now, why do he keep saying get this very state-of-the-art vaccine? What do you mean state-of-the-art vaccine? I never heard of the word state of the art. Have anybody ever heard of state of the art Tylenol? State of the art X-Lax? Anybody took any state of art X-Lax? So in other words, he's trying to create a smart vaccine. Now, in order to create a smart vaccine, there's something smart that got to be put in the vaccine. Now, if it's smart, what you normally think? Smart chip or whatever. I mean, I'm just looking into this stuff, you know. You come to your own conclusion.
Poor world's children, it's required GSK and Pfizer to give us very, very low prices. And so instead of waiting 30 years from when rich kids get it to when poor kids get it, we've now made that just a few years, and that's a big reason why childhood death rates are going down.
See, that don't sit with me, man. State of the art. Let's listen to this one. Oh, I can't do that. CBS. Well, yeah, I can. Give me a moment. Screw CBS. Give me a moment.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has committed more than $350 million for the development of diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines in the fight against the coronavirus. Earlier today, I asked Bill Gates what he makes of the results coming out from those early vaccine trials.
We don't know if these vaccines will work. We don't know if they'll work to avoid deaths. We don't know if they'll work to avoid transmission. That's why we're working on so many first-generation vaccines.
How do we know if these vaccines are working?
And you'd like it to be very safe in all the populations that you indicate it for, no side effects. And then you'd like it to avoid the individual who gets the vaccine getting sick.
Where are we in terms of a rapid diagnostic test? You've talked about this a lot. It would be a test that is like an in-home pregnancy test. Where are those tests?
In the next 2 to 4 months, some of those tests will get approved. Now, they won't be as accurate as the PCR, which is a molecular test. And so over the next few months, we have to up PCR capacity. We have to get results back in 24 hours. We need both. And the lag times that we have today are completely unacceptable. It's making most much worthless.
The president said just this weekend that the U.S. has the lowest mortality rate in the world. Is that factually correct?
Not at all, not even close. I mean, by almost every measure, the U.S. is one of the worst.
Why are we one of the worst?
We actually had criteria for opening up that said you had to have cases declining, and we opened up with cases increasing.
We have schools all in the midst of this decision about how to get kids safely back into the classroom or whether to learn totally online. How can we do it safely?
The big challenge here is how to get the teachers and the staff in and to avoid those kids being a source of infection as they go back into their households. This next academic year does hang in the balance on top of the learning deficits we have coming out of last year. So I'd put that after the deaths as the next biggest costs.
One of our viewers texted us this question. His name is Eric. He's actually from Washington State, where you are, and he asked, would you send your children to public school in this current situation?
If a school is being careful, then yes. Now, if they live in a multi-generational household, where you have old people that they're exposed to, you have to look how hard would it be for you to reduce the grandparents' exposure to those kids. We do need to remember it's mostly the transmission into the older people that drives these, really horrific deaths per day.
Bill Gates, thank you so much for joining us and for all of the...
Now again, how come he's an expert on this? He never dealt in vaccines. He never dealt in medication. He never dealt with prescriptions. He doesn't have a pharmaceutical license. That's not Bill Gates, but all of a sudden, our leaders, our government, the people are leaning toward him as an expert, but you get a real doctor who probably believe in, has got some weird beliefs outside of her practice, but has a history of being proficient at her practice. They mocked her. Or they mark somebody like Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, or they'll mark the people who say, hey, I got something that is catching this early and getting rid of it. I want you to go see it. And they automatically crap on that. But they won't crap on this dude who ain't never, ever had anything to do with the medical industry, who is trying to be the spokesperson for Gavi to get this smart vaccine into the systems of people, starting with poor people. Now, the key is he wants to get this medication out to poor people first. I don't know, man. You figure whatever you can from that. We're going to go to another video, and I'm almost done. It's just that I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this whole situation because something just ain't sitting right with me. And I really believe this is going to be one of the most embarrassing moments in the history when it hits the fan that rich, wealthy, elite people are trying to use a vaccine to gain more money, yet at the same time, off the deaths of people now, off the death and sufferings and fears of people, yet at the same time, there was always something available to help people, but they didn't want people to know about that. So this is me. I'm just an inquiring mind. I'm not asking y'all to follow me or listen to me or nothing like that. I'm just telling you how I feel. Let's go to this one. And then we got one more video to show.
Our next guest is one of the richest and most generous men in the world. Please welcome Bill Gates. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
First of all,
now, I'm definitely going to get a copyright strike, but I'm not going to play 18. I ain't realized it's 18 minutes. I'm not doing that, but let's play a little bit.
In all our grantees now prioritize this coronavirus work. So, even polio eradication, we're not able to work on that, or new drugs for HIV. But that skill set is very applicable to helping pick which drugs should go into trials and which vaccines we should build factories for, so that if one proves safe and efficacious, we can make billions of doses. So our whole thing is upended. We're giving money to up the testing capacity because in developing countries,
whatever. Let's go some more.
Quarantines by, really figuring out how do we make sure it's safe, because that when you give it to 7 billion healthy people, that's super important. So the challenge we put to scientists at the foundation and many, many places who are working night and day on this is very high. And, although the best case is actually shorter than 18 months, we don't want to create a lot of expectations because we really aren't quite sure. So people like Fauci and myself are giving that as kind of the
people like Fauci and yourself. See, some fishy.
Likely date. It could be better. It could be worse. In some communities, Blacks are getting the disease, severe disease, in higher percentages.
Now I'm gonna stop there because I keep hearing that, and it just ain't sit right with me. How come a so-called Chinese virus comes to the United States via Europe? That's what Governor Cuomo said. Trump called it a Chinese virus, came here through Europe via the Europeans, but it's affecting blacks more than anybody. How is that? How come we're always the inferior ones? How come we're always the weak ones? We're the one getting all the diseases and everything like that. And, you guys eating all the pork and the pork rinds, like white people don't eat pork and pork rinds. Come on now. I mean, look, not for nothing. Coronavirus is real. I just lost one of my best high school friends to coronavirus. Coronavirus real. I've been a union organizer for a transportation union, and we've seen a lot of our workers die from COVID. Never saying it's not real. I'm not one of them idiots talking about COVID is not real. Man, you done lost your damn mind. It's real. It's very real. Treatment now and getting rid of this, now that's suspicious and that's fishy. There's a whole lot of lies going on in my Calvin Candy voice before he got ready to crack Django's wife's head open with. There's a lot of lies going on around here. And I think Bill Gates is one of the chief provocateurs of the lies. Because he's so bent out on this freaking smart virus killer, this smart vaccine. We got to get people a smart vaccine. We got to make sure it's cheaper. We got to give it to the poorest people first. We got to get it to the black people first. That just don't sound right. It's going to be low cost. We're trying to get it to billions of people. Our number one focus is a vaccine. It's not medical treatment early. It's not treatment. It's a vaccine. Well, how come you ain't put this kind of energy with HIV, bruh? I mean, HIV, there's still no cure for HIV and AIDS. How come you're not putting this energy in that? There's so many diseases going on right now, and not just COVID-19, but you got so many SARS, so many COVID viruses out here. How come you ain't focusing on getting rid of those first as this one? How come this is the urgent one? Something just ain't sit right. And I'm not going to go through this video on Ellen, but this last video I'm going to show you I saw. Now, look, I watch conspiracy theory movies. I like that type of stuff. And what you call a conspiracy theory may not be a conspiracy theory, but what other people, but they claim it. I mean, anything could be a conspiracy theory. And a conspiracy theory can go both ways. All this medication that claims to cure, conspiracy theory. I always say if it's a conspiracy theory, look into it. Maybe it's not a theory. Maybe it could be a fact if you look into it. Just because somebody labeled it conspiracy theory doesn't mean it's a conspiracy theory. Now I'm going to look into one more video. Now I saw this. Now this, I mean, I can't validate this video, and it's probably not him. It could be Bill Gates. It could not be Bill Gates. But here it is. Now Snopes said this. This video right here that I'm about to show y'all, Snopes said is false. Okay? Snopes, you know Snopes, fact checkers. People paid to check the facts, get the facts on something. Dear Bill Gates briefed the CIA in 2005 about a mind-altering vaccine. A year-old hoax recirculating in 2020 is this time with Gates' name attached to it. All right, so let's take a look at this and see what they mean. I mean, this video don't mean nothing to me. I still think something smell fishy. So yeah, something smell fishy. I'm not near no fish market, and I can still smell it. Let's listen to this for a second.
Excuse me, on the left over here, we have individuals.
Now, they claim this is Bill Gates. Claim. Can't validate this. I'm not Snopes, and I don't think Snopes right, and I think who fact-checked the fact-checkers? Fact-checkers, the business of fact-checking came because real news journalists are too lazy to investigate and report no more. They get their talking points from on high, and they say it in verbatim. They say it from the top news agency to your local news agency in verbatim, literally, word for word. So they don't do any investigative reporting. When the last time you seen somebody do an investigative report and uncovered something that blew you away, like the Nixon tapes? When the last time you saw that? So I don't know. I can't see if this Bill Gates, but it is a white guy down in the corner lecturing some people, and he do got some glasses, and it is in some kind of assembly room. I don't know, but I'm going to play it. He does sound like Bill Gates. I don't know.
Individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is the expression.
Shout out to DND.
Real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalists, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. So we have some very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
So you're suggesting I take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether I put a bullet in their head?
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing, and I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic into a normal person. And we think that will have major effects in the Middle East.
How would you suggest that this is going to be dispersed? Aerosol?
Well, so the present plan and the tests that we've done so far have used respiratory viruses, such as flu or rhinoviruses, and we believe that that's a satisfactory way to get the exposure of the largest part of the population. Most of us, of course, have been exposed to both of those viruses, and we're quite confident that this will be a very successful approach.
This is fascinating. What's the name of this proposal?
Yeah, so the name of this project is FunVax, which is the vaccine for religious fundamentalism.
And you have a proposal already?
The proposal has just been submitted, and I think that the data that I have shown you today would support the development of this project, and we think it has great promise.
Now again, according to Snopes, this is a hoax. Okay. Now, whether you believe Snopes or not, that's between you and Snopes. Snopes can't make you believe them, and I can't make you believe them. Here's the deal. We have a very dangerous virus going on. It's still going on, still ravaging people today. And they always talking about, oh, it's metamorphosizing, it's changing every day. How do we know? Is it changing on its own, or is somebody changing it? I mean, if you're a conspiracy theory, you would think that, hey, the government is propping up, the government somehow worked, some government worked this vaccine all around the world to get rid of religious fanaticism. Or just to get rid of people in general. Population control. Yeah, they're putting a lot of money. They want to make sure everybody get this, poor people get this virus, white people get this virus, the people who are affected the most get the virus. Rich white people, they're not affected the most. Everybody but rich white people are not should be getting the virus. Let's make it low cost, because it's billions of them. It's not billions of rich white people. It's billions of poor, middle class, higher class people. We can probably get some money off of them. So let's get about 1 billion vaccines out there at a low cost each, so we can make some money. I don't know what's going on with this thing. All I know is this: the virus is real. I don't trust Bill Gates. I'm never going to take a vaccine from Bill Gates. Kiss my behind. I'd rather not. I'm not taking your vaccine, Bill. So I'm going to assume the conspiracy theory is true. It's all right to assume it's true. And if people want to think you're a wacko, let them think on. I can think you're a wacko because you're not assuming it's true. See, I'm the type of person I'd rather have something and not need it than need it and not have it. That's why I prophylact myself. Because it may work, may not work. What you got right now working for you. You going to wait till you get halfway dead for them to start using you as a guinea pig? Not me. So if I read about something in a study, I'll look into it. If it's safe, I'll try it. If my homeboy from the South, Buck, come to me and say, yo, Rob, 10 oranges, man. Bam, knocked it out. All right, Buck, I'll try 10 oranges. Either it work or don't. I'm not going to blow Buck off. Man, get out of here with this stuff. Oranges are healthy. I'll try it out. If it was dangerous, I wouldn't. But then again, who telling you, they'll tell you something dangerous and you'll sit there and believe it. Because they said it. You never looked into it. You never investigated on your own. They said a wise man investigate. A wise man investigate. A wise man investigate what a fool take for granted. I'm not going to be taking for granted this stuff. I look, I read, I study, I listen, I look at both sides, I come to the middle, and I make my own personal judgment. I've made my own personal judgment that I don't have to have your hydroxychloroquine. You can ban it all day, every day. It works. It worked for a whole lot of people. It may not work for you, but it works. But if you want to ban it, there's other zinc ionophores out there. I get some courtesy. My whole point is, this thing is real. And people are trying to make money off this. And you got people who you love dearly. People who you care about dearly has either been infected, probably will be infected. Some of them are going to survive. Some of them are going to die. And if there's a possibility they didn't have to go that route, whoever's holding it back are committing crimes against humanity, and they need to be charged for it. I don't care if you're holding back the information from getting out. I don't care if you're a doctor and you refuse to prescribe it to your patient because of what somebody else said instead of you checking it out to see if it's true. You do realize the World Health Organization, the CDC and all that, they're not authorities. They don't have the power to, they're not police officers. Majority of the time, they're right. They're not always right. Sometimes it's all about medicine and helping people. Sometimes it's about making money. That's just the way it is. So Bill Gates and his wife is pushing hard to get a smart vaccine. And then I roll in here and look at something about a anti-fanaticalism program to remove a gene from people who were fanatics in the Middle East, pretty much terrorists. They was going to come up with something for the terrorists that can get rid of their terrorist thinking, according to this video. It's funny, though. It's funny. It's not funny if it's actually true, but it's funny to even think that somebody will try to create something like that. And the guy said, well, how are we going to get it to them? He says from some flu. Now, was that Bill Gates' voice? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is this. There's treatment out there for you. May work on you, may not work on you. But you better learn about it and get understanding, or you're going to be in line waiting for a vaccine. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. Oh, boy. Bill Gates. You done went from the Xbox, man, to now you one of the top speakers in the world on vaccination. How in the hell did that happen? Up there with Anthony Fauci. Y'all buying this, man? Bill Gates is a top expert on vaccines, right side by side with Anthony Fauci. Are you buying this bull crap? Maybe you are. Maybe you are. Guess what? I ain't.